Welcome back to another video, everybody. We have a lot to talk about in this one. We received an onslaught of economic data today. We're going to be receiving some more tomorrow. We saw some volatility in markets, and a lot of interesting news has been coming out as it relates to a lot of your favorite names: AMD, Nvidia, Sofi, HIMS, and Palantir, which we obviously are going to be talking about in this video here. And first off, to start, obviously, we're going to be talking about the big overall macro situation because, again, when you guys understand the big picture of the market, well, it makes it a lot easier to make better, more well-informed decisions in the present. So guys, before we get into all of that information, if you guys do enjoy the information and analysis I provide for you guys in these videos here, make sure you go down and hit that like button. Costs you nothing to do it, but helps me out a whole lot in spreading this information out to as many people who actually want to learn. And again, if you never want to miss another video like this, make sure you're subscribed, and most importantly, make sure you go down and check and make sure you have notifications turned on so you're notified every time these videos do end up getting posted live. So first thing that I want to talk about here is just the overall structure of what we're looking at in the broad indexes here. For this example, we're going to be using the S&P 500 futures here, ES. Now, if you were paying attention to yesterday's video, what I was outlining for the next potential move here, even though this ended up playing out very quickly, was a move down into this zone here, a retest of this 58.75 to about 58.55 area here before the market started trading back to the upside, and that is exactly what we saw today. Now, why did we see this aggressive movement back to the upside here, taking the market a little bit higher? Well, first things first, we did receive the producer price index here, a little bit of a different view of inflation. This came in well below market expectations here. US producer prices fell by 0.5% in April 2025, following a revised flat reading in March and defying market expectations of a 0.2% increase. This was the first decline in the PPI since October 2023 and the sharpest drop since April 2020. The decline is largely driven by a 0.7% fall in service costs, the largest since data collection began in December 2009, primarily due to a 1.6% decrease in margins for trade services, suggesting that businesses may be absorbing some of the impacts of higher tariffs. This just goes to show that thesis and that idea that I've been outlining for you guys over the past couple of months here, that these tariffs are not actually going to lead to a meaningful increase to inflation, is just playing out before our eyes right now. Now, in addition to this, we also got some more data today that, again, we've been talking about here a lot: retail sales. Again, as we all know, back in March, we did see a significant rise to this metric here, mainly as a result of a lot of these consumers going out and trying to front run the potential increase in prices that they thought was coming. Now, remember, if you look at those one-year inflation expectations, which we are going to be getting another reading on tomorrow when we receive consumer sentiment, overall, consumers think that inflation is going to skyrocket this year. We have the average at about 6.5%. When you break it down by political party, obviously the Democrats are going to think inflation is going to be moving a little bit higher. The Republicans think it's going to be right around zero, and the independents think it's going to remain kind of in the middle there. But in general, those expectations are not necessarily aligning with what we are seeing in the actual inflation data. So again, we did see an increase here to retail sales. Again, beating expectations here again, but not nearly as high as it was in March. What this is still showing us is that even though consumers' sentiment towards the actual economy is very weak, they're still going out and spending money in the market. Now, with all of this data that I have shared, again, we are seeing that muted effect to inflation here. We are seeing consumers still spending, but all of this has not really had an effect on projections for rate cuts coming in the near future here. Again, what the Fed is starting to kind of think about here isn't necessarily that inflation is going to move back to the upside as a result of these tariffs, but more so potentially over the next year and a half due to the new fiscal policy, or really government policy, that is starting starting to come out, meaning that if the United States businesses have greater access to foreign markets, well, they're going to be able to grow at a higher rate, potentially increasing employment in the United States. That could drive further growth and potentially push up inflation, which is now what this market is starting to price in a little bit, which means that the Fed may not have to act as it relates to interest rates here. Now, in addition to this, we also saw a little bit more of a development here with a couple of these trade talks. President Trump says India has offered to remove all tariffs on U.S. goods. This comes as the U.S. and Chinese officials meet in South Korea for a second round of trade talks. I would expect over the next 48 hours here, or really 72 hours, that we will see some more developments here between the U.S. and China, and that can definitely affect markets. But what I will say in general here, before we kind of get into some of these individual names, is that this is a time in the market where you want to be a little cautious. If you were an individual that was buying very heavily down at these lower levels here with maybe a short-term or medium-term perspective, this is a decent time to either start selling calls against your share positions or maybe taking some profits off of the table as the market waits for some more information here. But overall, again, we are on a very strong move to the upside, and a lot of names have significantly benefited from that. Now, let's first talk about our first individual name here, and that is going to be Sofi. Now, this is a name, again, guys, I've owned this one since $6.55 last July. Has been a very, very high-performing name for me, and also one that we've been covering on this channel a lot. Now, this one has, again, had a very, very significant move to the upside off of these lows here. It is now just chopping around in that range that it was in right after the day that they reported their earnings here. So, again, you are going to see some volatility in this name here, as always. But, again, to me, with Sofi at these levels here, and with this guidance that we heard from CEO Anthony Noto here at the JP Morgan Global Technology, Media, and Communications Conference, which is actually like literally right over there. I should have tried to sneak in there. But they did say, while maintaining a goal to reach 50 million members within 5 years, which is insane when you think about that Sofi only has 11 million members right now. That is an insane amount of growth, and if they are able to hit those targets, they are going to have and witness a significant boost to their valuation and obviously their share price. Now, in addition to this, we also have some comments from the CEO also talking about Sofi in the sense that they are trying to work on their user experience here. So again, one of the changes we made in the last year within Invest was single page tier sheets is what we call them, but it just shows you the information on a given stock or a given asset, and it's driven a significant increase in engagement. It also highlighted us to how much more iteration we have to do on the user experience, which again is something that Sofi has lacked in over the last couple of years here. But again, the development of this new crypto initiative that they are relaunching and trying to get out as fast as possible, working on the user experience here, and also those goals of having 50 million members, again, makes me think that Sofi is going to be a big winner over the long term here. So those of you guys that are Sofi shareholders, including myself, this could be one that is going to make us a lot of money. But again, nothing I say in these videos is financial advice. You guys do your own research and make your own decisions here. Now, let's talk about another name here going into the AI in semiconductor space, AMD. So AMD recently had some very awesome news recently here. We saw that $6 billion buyback, which again is a very welcome development for shareholders, including myself. Remember, I own AMD shares at a very low level of $11.39. That has made me a lot of money over the years here. And we also saw this development. AMD shares climbed about 2%. This was on Wednesday here after the chip maker forged a multi-year $10 billion investment partnership with Humane, a new AI venture in Saudi Arabia. But we are also seeing some increased competition out of China here. Chinese CPU vendor swaps AMD Zen architecture for homegrown one to deliver 128 core monster to give EPYC in Exion here a run for their money. So again, China going to be very competitive in the AI and semiconductor space. But when we have a lot of these new growth initiatives with the United States government now, And when we talk about Nvidia here, they are now able to send even more chips to that region. Again, these American AI companies are really poised to take full advantage of this new landscape that this administration is outlining for them. And just kind of thinking about the price action of AMD here, again, you came down, you effectively just bounced right off of this level here, these 2022 highs, came back to the upside, and then just rejected off of that 200 exponential moving average here. Again, we could easily see a period of consolidation right around this level that we are currently trading at before new information comes out, new market movement happens, and then we can see that clear break of that 200 exponential moving average here. Now, again, Nvidia holding on a little bit stronger here than AMD. Again, this one is going to get a little treated a little bit more favorably by the market because it is the top dog in the AI and chip space. And obviously, this week we also saw, like I mentioned before, Nvidia to send 18,000 AI chips to Saudi Arabia. Again, guys, Nvidia, monster company that has been really awesome for investors over the last couple of years here. And again, with all of these new developments that we are seeing from this administration, they are really set up to have a really strong next couple of quarters and years here, especially if all of the other big companies in Mag 7 keep their capital expenditures at the same levels or even increase them, because there is going to be a continuous need for all of these AI chips that Nvidia is producing here. Now, let's shift our focus here to another retail favorite, and that is HIMS. And we are seeing some very interesting institutional ownership changes in this one. But I want to first briefly talk about the price action on this one here, guys. Again, I've said it before, I've said it again, right where we are right now, in my opinion, is not the time to buy HIMS. Let me just break this down for you guys a little bit. When I was talking with the private trading and investing community there, less trades, more profits. Again, if you guys want the best deal that I will ever offer, use code May with the link down below. That'll give you for your first 2 months for 50% off. It's literally only $1 a day. You get all of the private live streams, all of the full-length educational courses, the full watch list of stocks and cryptos that are about to explode before they do, the macro research reports, the single stock research reports, the pre-market plans. There's so much in there, guys. I'm probably forgetting a couple of things. It is very highly reviewed for a reason. So if you guys are interested, make sure you check that out. But we were talking about this name being very attractive here at this $30 to $31 level. So when we see a stock move from our areas of interest up from 30 all the way up to this 51 or even 60 area, well, if I was interested in it down there, I'm going to be a lot less interested in it at 100% higher levels. There is more kind of meat here to the downside, in my opinion, in the short term than there is for continued upside, especially with what we have seen out of the market over the last couple of trading days here on this aggressive move to the upside. Now, with that being said, we have also seen some significant institutional purchases here. In the first quarter of 2025, we saw Susquehanna increase their position in HIMS by about 503%. And as we covered yesterday, Bridgewater, again, that's Ray Dalio there, even though Ray Dalio did step down and has a much smaller role at Bridgewater, it is still his money being invested and he still serves on the investment board. They increased their position in HIMS by 6,350% in the first quarter there. So again, there is a lot of institutional interest coming into this name here, and that is always a positive thing to see. Now, guys, the last name that I want to talk about in this video this evening is going to be Palantir. Now, after Palantir reported their earnings, obviously, they did not receive that upward movement that a lot of people were expecting, even though they knocked it out of the park with their fundamentals. And it just goes back to show that everything that I've been saying on this channel here, really about Palantir, is starting to come true, that the market is starting to hold this one to a little bit of a higher standard. Now, after earnings, obviously, there were some dip buyers that came back in. And now this one, quite surprisingly, is holding on right around those prior all-time highs. Now, one of the reasons for this is this new development that we saw coming out of the talks between the Trump administration, Donald Trump, and the Saudi Arabian officials here, which could open up the total addressable market right here, as we see from these comments here from Wedbush for Nvidia, Palantir, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Tesla, and many other well-positioned chip and software names over the coming years. Again, we have heard time and time again that this new administration is looking to increase defense spending. We already already know that Palantir's commercial revenue growth is growing significantly. Their government revenue growth is growing significantly. Their global revenue growth, again, is growing significantly there. So again, this one is well positioned to continue knocking it out of the park in terms of their fundamentals over the next couple of quarters and years. But what we need to see out of this one now is for it to start to grow into the lofty valuation that the market is giving it right now at a almost $303 billion market cap. So guys, that is going to wrap up this video here. If you guys did enjoy the information and analysis I provided for you guys in this one, make sure you go down and hit that like button. It costs you nothing to do it, but it helps me out a whole lot in spreading this information out to as many people who actually want to learn. And again, if you never want to miss another video like this, make sure you're subscribed, turn on notifications so you're notified every time these videos go live. But until next time, guys, I will see you. Peace.